Handling legal matters is stressful. So, let the law offices of Frank Bruno Jr. provide you with the insightful counsel you deserve. The law offices of Frank Bruno Jr. has successfully handled thousands of cases for 25 plus years. They focus on elder law and estate planning, but are equipped to navigate you through all stages of family law and divorce to real estate law and probate. The law offices of Frank Bruno. Call 718-418-5000 or visit them at frankbrunolaw.com. That's frankbrunolaw.com. Frank Bruno. He's your numero uno.
Check this out.
No one knows New York better. The founder of the Guardian Angels, Curtis Sliwa.
You can't compete against that.
On 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. We got everything you want. How do we know the names? We are the people that can find whatever you may need. If you got the money, honey, we got your disease. In the jungle. Welcome to the jungle. Won't you bring it to your knees? I wanna watch you bleed. Welcome to the jungle. We take it day by day. If you want to joke, gonna bleed, but it's the price you pay. And you're a very sexy girl. It's very hard to please. You can taste the bright lights, but you won't get them for free. In the jungle. Welcome to the jungle. Feel my serpentine. I wanna hear you scream. Welcome to the jungle. It gets worse here every day. You learn to live like an animal in the jungle where we play. If you got a hunger for what you see, you'll take it eventually. You can have anything you want, but you better not take it from me. In the jungle. Welcome to the jungle. Won't you bring it to your knees? I'm gonna watch you bleed. When you're high, you never ever wanna come down. Suck down, suck down, suck down.
It is the jungle. There's no other way of describing the streets of New York City. It is, without a doubt, now the discussion of those who even report the news. We'll get to that momentarily. As a reporter, long track record, Kelly Dillon put out a TikTok. We're going to play it for you. 11-year veteran. Boy, she's worked at Bloomberg Radio, traffic reporter for Connecticut stations, 101.5 in Jersey. I think I met her when I was doing Good Day Early Call New York at Channel 5. Did that for about 11 years. I'm not quite sure. But she's best known for having been one of the go-to reporters for both 1010 WINS, where she works at now, and ironically, the station that has its last broadcast, 880 WCBS, which has been folded into the ESPN network bin so that they can more adequately compete against WFAN, eliminating that radio station that really reported suburban news. Before we get into what happened to Kelly Dillon, it's a regular situation happening to New Yorkers, whether you're well-known like Kelly or whether you happen to be a visitor, resident, you got a business, or even a homeless person sleeping under the boardwalk of Coney Island. It's universal in all 5 boroughs. But it comes at a point when a great radio station, 880 WCBS AM, one of the original unlimited 50,000 watts of power licensed stations, that mean the strongest in the nation. It was WABC, It was WNBC, which converted to WFAN, and it was WCBS 880. That means it's 50,000 powerful watts of sound. So when you use our tower in Lodi, New Jersey, which has also been designated by the FCC, the Emergency Broadcast Channel, that's why it's so important to save AM radio. And those knuckleheads in both the U.S. Senate and the House are being resistant to that because they're being wine-dined and pocket-lined by all these car companies. They want you to have to pay for AM in your radio. In your car. Any new cars coming off the assembly lines. That's really a side subject to all of this, but I would be remiss if I didn't honor all those who've worked at WCBS 880 AM over the years. Great news station. Actually did suburban news. That's why you listen to them, which is really more of what our listeners are yearning for. Most of our listeners at WABC are in the suburbs. We are not an inner-city broadcasting station. I mean, people listen to us in the 5 boroughs, but that's not where most of our listeners come from. Just likewise with WCBS AM. If you wanted local news, urban news, you go to the sister station at that time, 1010 WINS. If you wanted suburban news, you went to 880. And they were a dynamic duo. But guess what? Radio is in trouble. We are unique. We were saved by John and Margot Katzimatidis. At the last second, we were ready. They were ready to turn the lights off on us at the old WABC when we were on the 17th floor Madison Square Garden. And Cumulus had already destroyed Nash, the country radio station, WPLJ, one of the most iconic FM stations in the nation. And we were next on the chopping block. And Nancy, if you remember, right before the start of the pandemic and the lockdown in March of 2020, you attended the party announcing the salvation, the saving of WABC as Cumulus signed off and turned it over to Red Apple Media, owned and operated by John and Marco.
Yeah, that was my last official party before the lockdown started.
Right, and then we went over to a steakhouse at the old New Yorker Hotel, and the guy who was sitting next to you, Chaz Palminteri's best friend, he had been a U.S. prosecutor, he had been a DA in the Bronx, was having a great conversation with you about the law. Gee, I forget the poor guy's name. It was Paul, I think, something. Died in Jacoby. They took him one day, put him in the ER, the ICU in Jacoby. Boy, that's not a hospital you want to go to up on Pelham Parkway. And he never came out. That's when COVID was hitting hard, and nobody quite knew what it was. And you were right next to him.
Yes, I know.
It could have been you.
It could have.
It must have been your Polish, though, genes, although I must tell you, Nancy indicated to me before we did the extended rip and reach, you had to have a cup of coffee. She's the coffee queen. So I said, go ahead, knock yourself out. Go get yourself a cup of coffee. Next thing you know, she comes back dripping. I mean, she got hit with the tsunami outside.
Yeah, actually, it was like a double whammy because I went to the place that has the 24-hour coffee stand all excited. And there's like the one time this guy wasn't there. So I'm like, now I have to backtrack. It's already downpouring. So I'm trying to cut between the existing scaffolding, which there's a lot, and then dip into like some of these doorways. I only have to go back like 2 blocks.
Well, aren't you so lucky? Because Eric Adams just the other day said he was going to take all the scaffolding down. That'll never happen.
Yeah, so, I mean, I really only have myself to blame. I should have just left the coffee alone.
Damn right, but you are addicted to coffee. She is the coffee queen.
I mean, a little.
I mean, let's face it. Without your coffee in the morning, you are a modern-day terrorist. The cats are hiding in the apartment. You throwing stuff at them. You're yelling at them.
I'm sorry. That's not... I've got to backtrack. That's not happening.
Yeah, if we can only get the cats to talk. I know when I come into the apartment, if you haven't had your cup of coffee yet, I said, where are all the cats? They're hiding in the closet. It's like night and day. It's like 2 different people. It's like you have a personality disorder without your coffee. You got to have your cup of coffee, and it better have a lot of caffeine in it.
Some people might hear that as a need for help.
Damn right. No decaf. But anyway, imagine it's pouring rain, ladies and gentlemen, right? Most people who are not addicted to coffee, and I know Americans are addicted to coffee, would have turned back and come back here without getting drenched. But you decided you had to have your cup of coffee like a junkie looking for a shot. You know, like what's his name from Friends, looking for his last shot, the super shot of ketamine.
Yeah, Matthew Perry.
You had to have your last shot of coffee. You could end up with pneumonia.
Yeah, no, it was a bunch of deadbeats out there, like the smokers and the coffee addicts. You're right.
God, you are addicted.
The homeless.
I'm looking out the window and say, how the hell is she going to get back?
Yeah, not like let me go meet you with an umbrella. Like, good luck with that.
No. Yeah, if you intrepidly wanted to go out there
okay.
and brave what is a tsunami.
Well, you're honoring my braveness. Thank you.
Because you had to have a cup of coffee. Go ahead. And notice we come into the studio that was just vacated by Joe Piscopo. He keeps the temperatures here at a tropical level.
Like Miami.
It's like fungus that grows in the studio. He really likes it hot. I like it cold because it prevents me from falling asleep since I don't sleep. But I can't keep it cold now because Nancy will definitely get walking pneumonia.
I'm going to take that chance, actually.
But we're talking about coming down with colds, coming down with pneumonia, walking pneumonia, viruses, things of that type, right? Things that you know can be debilitating. What about if you're doing your job, as so many people do in the 5 boroughs of the city of New York, and you got your mic staff in your hand? It says 1010 WINS. It's the go-to station for news. Every 20 minutes, we'll give you the world. Been traditional. You've seen it in movies. You've seen it in TV shows. In fact, Eric Adams at a press conference about Central Park, we'll get to that later on, actually made reference to it. In fact, actually, play me that cut if you can, where Eric Adams is referencing WINS when he's talking about how he cannot give details out of his new initiative to stop migrant crime in Central Park. I would have said, just ship them back to their country of origin. That's how you stop the migrant crime in Central Park. We'll get into that. But even he in his press conference didn't say WABC or WCBS now or off the air, didn't say any of the TV stations. He made reference to 1010 WINS. The reason that he didn't want to give out details of his crackdown on crime in Central Park is because somehow the criminals would hear about it on WINS. Now, I don't know where he surmised that from. The migrants, I guarantee you, Nancy, are not listening to WINS. They're listening to La Mega. They're listening to Wado. You know, they're listening to Spanish language. But he said it anyway because it is a knee-jerk reaction, like I said. I'll tell you what, don't knock yourself out here. I can see it's going to take you a month of Sundays, Mad Blaze, to find it.
You were right. I like how it was a very secretive plan. He has a lot of things in the works, but he doesn't want to tell you about it in case someone else might be listening.
Well, we'll get to it. Well, we don't want to burden Mad Blaze. You know, it's tough for him to think and chew gum at the same time. Plus, he has Loverboy here, Jonah, who spent his time debuting on the James Golden Show, talking about how he met his wife. And then they were at Bible school, and then all of a sudden they love one another. And I'm like, oh, man, spare me. What is that show on KTU, War of the Roses? What is that?
Yeah, well, yeah. Is that related to him?
It should be. We should really call his wife.
Wait. Let's not wait. We don't want to create marital discord.
No. He made it seem like their marriage was magnificent. He said, hey, sometimes there are, little problems in any marriage. But he really did make it seem like
he's happy.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
there's no doubt about that.
Okay.
But that's the whole premise.
How dare?
Of WKTU's, right? War of the Roses.
Yeah.
Where you act like you have a good relationship, and then one of the hostess calls the guy up and says, hey,
right.
We're going to give you free roses to send to the one you love.
Yeah.
And then they trap Jonah because Jonah, instead of saying, I want you to send it to my wife at such and such an address, he hesitates and he goes, why don't you send them to this woman, Susan Gordon, And then all of a sudden, the female hostess at KTU, Cole, busts him and says, "That's not the name of your wife." Yeah, you want us to do that to you, Jonah? You want us to call your wife right now? You know, I realize that's FM, freaking morons, feeble-minded, fornicating madly, free marijuana, and of course the Mama Luke Frank Morano. But you introduced me to that show. That is a great show.
It's very funny.
I'm forgetting the host. The host has been there for years, man. He goes back to when Brooklyn Joe Corsi was there. Oh, Speedy was there in the morning with the guy who I hate, I loathe, I despise because he ended up becoming a Gambino guy and actually went to jail for hanging out with John Gotti Jr. and shaking down hat check girls at Scores, the strip club. Goomba Johnny. Oh, I'm trying to remember this guy's name.
How do we wind up down this road?
He does such
Where are we?
He does such a good job with the female. War of the Roses, I think that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, War of the Roses, that's correct.
So, Jonah, whatever the hell your name is, you better watch your P's and Q's. You're a newlywed only 2 years into this thing, and you made it seem like it was the greatest thing that ever happened in the world. I hope your wife similarly believes that, because, you know, we could do that to you right now. Through technology, we could call her up and hear a totally different story. Is he at work today? Oh, Hollywood Hamilton. Oh, he's one of the all-time greats. Hollywood Hamilton. Actually, that even bamboozled me. I mean, you hear everybody from Jersey, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island. You could tell right away. And always the guy, mostly it's the guy who's the kid, but sometimes they find that the woman is the player.
Yeah.
So, Jonah, let me just tell you, we could do that on you. You know, I could be very convincing. And your wife will get on the phone. Is he at WABC? Because I checked the other night.
This sounds like entrapment.
I checked the other night, and they said that he had to go out for a cup of coffee, and he hadn't come back yet.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. Oh, if I hear something like that again, oh, my God, I thought it was a soap opera. I thought it was a novella. And it was James Golden gushing like Urkel, like he used to be at Jackson High School in Southeast Queens. It was like, oh, true love, oh, the love I never had. I said, this is the WABC. Guys, get hold of yourself. Get a grip. Obviously, neither one was guilty of masculine toxicity on that one. You are not guilty of masculine toxicity, Jonah, whatever the hell your name is. I'm thinking of the whale. And, of course, Bo Snerdley, a.k.a. James Golden. But anyway, you threw me off. I want to go to the TikTok that was posted by this great reporter, Kelly Dillon. I think actually she worked with our Capo di Tutti, president of our operations at Red Apple Media. Chad Lopez used to manage both stations, CBS and 1010 Wins, and Fan. They were all a cluster. Now George Soros owns them, so you know what's going to happen to that. I want you, though, to listen to Kelly Dillon. She doesn't embellish. She's a street reporter. She's busted her 6-inch stiletto heels. So it's not somebody who's naive. It's not somebody who would be easily frightened. I want you to listen to her description of how she was mugged, assaulted. And this is something that, Nancy, you hear every day. I hear, our listeners hear. And really, the mayor needs to hear this because he's oblivious to this. He's a crime is down. What are you talking about? No. It's the perception of crime. You want perception? Listen to this great WINS 1010 reporter, Kelly Dillon, describe what she had to get through.
A couple days ago, I was assaulted on the streets of New York City randomly by a man. And I want to share my story because I want to warn females about the dangers in the streets of New York City right now. There are crimes, many crimes being committed, random acts, random attacks on females on the streets, and it's not going away, and it's not getting any better, and it's getting much, much worse. And the media and the police are definitely downplaying this, and it is a huge, huge problem. The man who randomly attacked me, little did he know, I am quite tough. I am actually also a news reporter. I've been a news and traffic reporter in New York City for the past 20 years, and also I'm very intuitively open. So I am going to use my platform for good to help expose this further and hopefully catch these people committing these horrific acts towards women. First, I want to share with you my story of what happened to me. This happened this past week, Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning, right at midnight. I was actually leaving work. I got off air right around midnight. My last report was 11:51, and I left my building, our office building, in Hudson Square. This incident happened on the corner of Hudson Street and King Street in Lower Manhattan. Literally, I just left the building. The area is quite desolate at night. It's a quiet neighborhood. I'm always on guard. No matter what time of the day I'm walking through New York City, I've been aware of the reports of many females talking about being randomly sucker punched or attacked by men in broad daylight even. So I was aware of this level of violence occurring in the city, and it's getting worse and worse. So I've always been on guard walking through the city as a young female alone, and I just stepped out of work and I crossed the street. Now what happened, I was walking, being cautious. I had my bag on my shoulder. I had my cell phone in my hand. I always carry it in my hand just in case. And I hear somebody running behind me. So I glance over and I look and I see what looked like a man in the corner of my eye. It looked like he was jogging. Now, a lot of people jog in this area of Lower Manhattan. It's right on the West Side Highway, a popular running spot. So I just really thought that somebody was jogging at midnight. It's really not out of the norm in New York City. And I dismissed it and I kind of moved over to allow them to pass me because I thought they were just running on by. Next thing you know, I feel somebody grab a good chunk of my hair, and then they grabbed my hair so tightly and quite literally body slammed me onto the pavement. It happened so quickly. I then quickly got up. I don't know how I got up so quickly. My adrenaline was rushing, that's for certain. I got back up and I see the culprit running back towards the way that he came from.
Wow. Here is a street smart reporter. She makes reference to all the women who have been cold-cocked in the city of New York. You remember, Nancy, we talked repeatedly that in 1 month, I believe it was April, 50 women in 1 month got punched in the face south of 14th Street. So from 14th Street to the Battery, mostly all of them during broad daylight. Few, if any, of the culprits were caught, even though most were on video. And it's a war on women. There's no doubt about it. But we got a mayor who's totally oblivious to this. You know, he could perception. I'd love to see him visit Kelly Dillon at the studios of 1010 WINS, which is right down near Tribeca. There's a whole cluster of their stations there. And I love him to be able to tell her it's just her perception. He's an experienced reporter, covers the news in the streets. Boy, this city is falling apart. Wait till you hear where he was today. I'm not going to tell you right now. I'm going to tell you right before we go to the Animal Welfare Hour. We alone will break this news. Where the hell Eric Adams was while all of these attacks are taking place. It's going to blow your mind. I mean, he's done things before that blows your mind. You can't figure it out. But this one, I think what's happening, Nancy, is he knows that his indictment is imminent. He's scurrying for cover. He's actually become the Biden of Brooklyn, like he always said. He's doing things like what Joe Biden would do that make no sense. He's making mistakes in what he says. He's not a dumb guy. He's not a stupid guy. But uncharacteristically, he's falling apart. Usually puts on a pretty good show. You can tell he's lying, but he's, pompous, arrogant, self-assured. Now he's like a little boy who's lost.
Yeah, and I think he senses the end is near, so he's just trying to party out a little bit.
But in the meantime, and I've said this to many, many people, Comrade Bill de Blasio took $1 billion out of the police budget. It was a budget of $6 billion. It's now down to $5 billion. That's significant. When he did that, his police commissioner at that time, his lapdog police commissioner, Dermot Shea, if you see him, you should really I-fornicate this guy. He sold out the police. He concurred. Instead of resigning and saying, no, you do that, I resign. Get yourself a new police commissioner. He went to the podium and he justified removing $1 billion from the police budget. This was right at the time of the George Floyd riots. Cops are getting assaulted. This guy sold out his own people. Then, remember, the city council, they were dancing the horror, the tarantella. They had a party. Yeah, we took $1 billion from the cops. Adams comes in, he talks, hey, I was a cop, 22 years, I wear the bulletproof vest. Hey, enough of that. You only made 4 arrests in 22 years, and you were a house mouse, but you were a cop. I would have thought the first thing he would have tried to do is say, look, we need to put $1 billion back into the police budget. I'm not going to be able to get control of the streets, the subways, the parks, unless we put that $1 billion back. No, he never fought for it. He never suggested it. The words that he used were, we can learn to deal with less. Really, maybe you could, but we can't. We needed it for the cops. Not once did he ever suggest, let's put the $1 billion back. Sure, there would have been a fight with city council, but hey, go to court, battle. Instead, he gave $5 billion to migrants. You couldn't give $1 billion and put it back into the police budget? And notice, every time now, instead of talking about more cops, now it's drones, robots, technology. He's doing that because it's a facade. It's smoke and mirrors because he doesn't have the money to hire the cops we desperately need. And he won't go to war with the city council. He won't name and shame Adrian Adams. He won't fight to get more cops. Imagine you have $1 billion less. It's never been replaced. How could you be up to doing the job? I don't know of any agency that can do a better job with $1 billion less in its budget.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like to your point, that's where all these technology elements come in. I mean, clearly they've failed miserably, and these little protocols that go nowhere. So instead of the mayor going where he went tonight, and again, you want to know where he went? I know, hush, hush, mush, mush. You better listen, because I ain't telling you right now. But when you find out where he went, he should have been going up to Kelly Dillon. He should have been going to the offices of WINS. He should have been saying to the men and women there who do go out into the streets, who do street reporting, hey, I'm sorry. We really got to lock down. We really got to make sure it's safe for you and everyone else. Kelly, you've been out there 20 years. You busted your 6-inch stiletto heels. I just want to apologize. We're going to get this city back. Even though it's BS, right? At least make the overture. Nothing. Wait till you hear where he was. And he got booed. He must be a masochist in addition to not having lost his mind because of these pending indictments. So if you don't hang on to WABC right now, there's something wrong with you. I have teased you. I have told you I'm going to reveal things to you that nobody else knows. And if somehow you go to sleep or you start watching TV or all of a sudden you turn the dial, the Malukia on you, the pox on you. Up next, we're going to the veteran, Mr. Softy truck driver, Nancy, because believe it or not, Mr. Softy is in the news. And I used to just buy Mr. Softy and chase the trucks as a kid. She actually drove it and served up Mr. Softy in, of all places, the Danch, Wine Danch. Oh, my God.
What we must do is remove the perception of fear. Cases like this, aggravates the perception of fear.
WABC.
Is your vehicle stopping like it should? Does it squeal or grind when you brake? Don't miss out on summer brake deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Check this out.
No one knows New York better. The founder of the Guardian Angels, Curtis Sliwa.
You can't compete against that.
On 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
Oh, so good. Chic, good times. This was the number one song in the summer of 79. Right when I was bringing the Guardian Angels from the Bronx into Coney Island. We're going to give you a Coney Island update in the next hour. You don't want to go anywhere. Oh, we were rip-roaring. We were throwing down. We took Coney Island from the crazy homicides and returned it so that the people could use it. And the vendors could actually make a living. But that was a war. That was an all-out war. And the cops in the 60th precinct there stayed in the 60th precinct because there weren't enough of them. And they knew, oh, my God, these guys are brawling and battling. That's how we helped liberate Coney Island. But the good times was you could go to the various rides and you could hear music like this. But when I was much, much younger, I would not have responded to this kind of music. We were all out in the streets. We were playing punch ball, stoop ball, box ball, Johnny on the Pony, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then all of a sudden we would hear in the distance the Mr. Softy jingle. Oh, whatever we were doing, we'd drop and then immediately run towards the Mr. Softy truck, or what we thought was a Mr. Softy truck, because there were some knockoffs. And boy, we'd line up, and it would be belching that black smoke, out of the muffler. And it would be going, as they'd be, the driver was also making the Mr. Softy. He'd be sort of revving it up to try to get, the ice cream churned in time. We'd do anything we could, get nickels, dimes, and pennies. I was always one, Nancy. The guy would say, hey, what do you want on your cone? I said, I don't want no rainbow sprinkles. You know what rainbow sprinkles meant, huh? And this is before it became a signal of gay liberation. I said, nope. I didn't want chocolate sprinkles. I didn't want anything. I just wanted that cone. And I wanted the soft cone. And if I couldn't get it in Mr. Softy, I'd have to go to a Carvel on Rockaway Parkway. But hey, the truck was right there. This was the beauty of Mr. Softy. It almost like it came to your door and it would play that incessant jingle almost 24 hours a day. I think some people just went outside to buy Mr. Softy to make the truck go away because the jingle was so annoying. Now, you actually had to be inside of this truck driving it around in the dance.
Yes, that is true. That is true. I had to do that for a little bit of time.
And plus, you went to Lake Ronkonkoma, right?
Yeah, no, it was quite a scene. It's kind of annoying enough having to drive the Mr. Softy truck because it doesn't really have those bells and whistles most normal cars do, like, brakes that work and like automatic steering. So it was kind of bad enough, but I didn't realize I was going to be actually getting it and going to the dance, which is a little bit of a rough neighborhood to sell
a little bit of a rough
the ice
neighborhood.
cream cones
Wine dance. It's worse than Brentwood and Central Islip combined.
Yeah.
Combined. I mean, that's the hood. So these kids, were they running up with a 44 Magnum in their hand?
No, I mean, no, it was, again, it was fine. You had like a number of kids, like the key was really to try to set up at like these events. So there was like, a baseball game or something at the park, so you can be stationary so you don't go crazy driving around this truck the whole time. And unfortunately the compressor didn't work either. So like halfway through serving, I'd be like, I don't have any cones left. And that would usually cause an uproar.
Did they do a drive-by shooting on you then in the dance?
You couldn't get away. There was like no doors on that thing. I actually, thinking back on it, I don't even know if that was like safe to drive.
Of course it wasn't.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
And by the way, you probably showed up at a jam. Some guy was basically stealing electricity off the electric pole, and he had, his speakers out there, his woofers, his tweeters, and his turntables. And they're having a jam, and they're smoking their blunts, and then all of a sudden they have the munchies, and who's there? The Mr. Softy truck. Give me a double cone.
Yeah,
what happened?
Yeah,
what happened when they didn't want to pay? Did you have a baseball bat in there?
No, you gotta take the money up front. Like, you don't play that game.
Oh, wait, hold on. So when you were in the dance, you had to get the cash up front.
Yeah, and it's not like today where people tap their phones and stuff. Like, everything had to be cash, so I'm not waiting for the cash until after the cone goes in the hand. Like, that doesn't happen.
So if I'm spotting you, like, let's say I'm a steerer, and I can tell how many nickel and dime bags have been sold, and I wait for everybody to sell their drugs, and then I stick them up. I'm watching you take all this cash in your truck. Didn't anybody try to stick you up?
No, I never had that happen.
Man, they must have gotten soft as the ice cream, Mr. Softy in the dance.
I try not to stay too long in that job. I know,
but I would have been clocking you. I would say, look at that mad money there, man. You do all the work, Nancy, and I'll stick you up at the end of your shift. How many hours would you be out there?
Well, like 8-9 hours.
Oh my God, you had mad cash there. Did you bring it home and stuff it in your mattresses? I mean,
no, unfortunately, the ice cream business really didn't create much mad cash.
Okay, so now, I say once again, there's a battle over turf. There are the correct Mr. Softy trucks. I don't know how you verify the correctness of the truck. They all play the same stupid freaking jingle. And there are the Fugazi Mr. Softy trucks, right?
Yeah, so there's... this is a lawsuit that's being brought because apparently in Queens and in the Bronx, there's like 3 rogue Mr. Softy trucks where... They put on the signage and they painted it and they even play this goofy song. So everyone thinks it's a Mr. Softy truck, but it's not. So the people who have the franchises and they have the routes, they realize that someone's not only muscling in on the area, but actually muscling in is the same exact thing. So,
well, the kids don't know the difference. As far as they're concerned, they hear the jingle. It looks like a Mr. Softy truck. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. I want Mr. Softy. And you're online for like a half hour. And then you're just sucking in all the black smoke coming out of the muffler there.
Yeah, this brings me back to like growing up as a kid and all those like knockoffs of like the actual brand name cereals. It was like Puffs of Cocoa, like the worst names in the world.
Wow,
so I'm pretty
hold on a second. You must have been poor. You had the knockoff brands?
There was no, you didn't know name brands.
Oh, so you went to the AMP, Great Atlantic Pacific Tea Company, or Pathmark, where they had the white aisle, and you had to buy the cereal that was in the white box that was supposedly the knockoff of Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
And they always had like the the different characters that looked like the ones, but not quite. You know, you could tell like something was wrong with them, like looked like they were on a bender or something.
When you actually poured milk on it, you could tell right away it got soggy real quick. It's sort of like, this is not the real deal.
Yeah, the only time that makes sense is like when you have to get a brand name with the Q-tips. That's one thing where you get those phony ones. It's like right away you're like losing.
Exactly. Boy, you must. Did your mom buy the dented cans? You know, where you got the reduction, they were all put in the shopping cart in the front, and if you bought dented cans, it was cheap as long as it didn't have a bubble in it. Well, what the hell, the manager said, I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you for 10 cents. That stuff was toxic.
I mean, as long as you're eating, I guess, right?
2-day-old bread, 3-day-old bread. Remember they give you a reduction on that? Oh, my.
Everything was fine. It just wasn't, brand name.
It wasn't brand name, that's right.
Which you don't really need.
No, I understand. What Pathmark, I remember, they would have a whole white aisle. It had no brand whatsoever. It was just a white box or a white can, white label.
And it's like cheese.
Massive reduction.
Cereal.
Right, massive reduction. Now, they would tell you that at the factory, it's the same factory that would make the cornflakes with the brand, but the unbranded one, would be the same cornflakes, so you're actually getting the same thing. Those were lies. Those were absolute lies, I can tell you. Because everybody thought they were getting a deal. Oh, Pathmark. Well, one time Pathmark was huge. But that's because they had the generic aisles. Everything was generic. But in this particular case, these knockoff Mr. Softy trucks, they start whole wars because organized crime gets involved. Now it's like ethnic organized crime. Albanians, guys from Montenegro, Macedonia, places you can't even find on a map.
And actually what's interesting, in the United States, so I was looking at this, so 625 Mr. Softy trucks all throughout the United States, but for some reason 300 of them are in New York City and Long Island. So for some reason we have like a really...
Oh, but this is Mr. Softy Town.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
I think it was Custard King or some custard. It was a lime green truck. It looked just like a Mr. Softy truck. It was different. They served custard. I remember the guys who had the Mr. Softy routes crawled over the fence and put half sticks of dynamite in the tailpipe of the custard trucks and blew them to kingdom come. I mean, it used to be controlled by organized crime.
Yeah, good thing I was out of it before that happened.
A half a stick of dynamite. You know what that does to a truck? Can you imagine? 3 o'clock in the morning, you're climbing over the fence, you got a half stick of dynamite, which is like, 4 M80s if you put them all together. You light it, you get the hell out of there, boom! There goes your competition. Wow. And if the cop gets greased, he didn't see nothing. It was called Soft Ice Cream Wars. Mr. Softy always seemed to win. The custard trucks, I'm forgetting, it was King Custard, whatever, they always lost. And now it's Mr. Softy fighting knockoff Mr. Softies. This is incredible, and you are our resident expert here at WABC. Whenever a Mr. Softy subject comes up, can you put it in the Rolodex that when we need an expert on Mr. Softy, especially selling it in the hood, the dance, wine dance.
Yeah, it's a very illuminating resume I have.
Man, when I went to wine dance, look, I'm used to the worst neighborhoods. I said, I thought this is the suburbs. They said, think again, man. You know what you got in East New York, Brownsville? We got it right here in the dance. I said, look, I'm not arguing with the brothers here. I get it. I can see you're strapped. You're strapped. I get it. And they never robbed your truck there in the dance.
No, but I still remember the first day realizing, like, where am I going? Like, why am I parking here? Like, this can't be right.
They never slashed your tires?
No, you had to drive your own car into, like, this fenced-in area, and then you picked up the Mr. Softy truck. I was more worried about my car that I was leaving behind, like something happening to that thing.
And where was that? Where was the lot?
Right off of the mainline train station, Long Island Railroad, which is not a good spot either.
No, that's... Man, you were lucky.
Hey.
And did you appreciate it when they sent you to Lake Ronkonkoma instead?
Yes, I appreciated that.
I'll bet you did. Anyway, when we come back, we started the program talking about Kelly Dillon, ace reporter for 1010 Wins, 20-year veteran getting mugged in the streets and really like breaking wild on TikTok. You got to watch it. She is pissed off at Adam. She is pissed off at the city. She says it's happening everywhere. There's a war on women. And we've been saying that on a regular basis. I mean, the month of April, 50 women got cold cocked south of 14th Street, broad daylight. Most of it on video, very few arrests. And the mayor acted like, nah, it's a perception. It's a perception. Really? God. Wait till you hear what he had to say about Central Park. The migrants, his friends, who are going into the area of the park, not the North Meadows up near Harlem, not the Rambles, the central part of the park, but right there along Billionaires Road. Yeah. Central Park South. All congregating there saying, hey, your money or your life. Little 17-year-old, 16, 15, 14, 13, and this one baby face one who is the leader of the pack, an 11-year-old.
Perception.
WABC. Talk Radio 77 WABC. New York's talk station with the king of New York. Curtis Sliwa, 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
I'm not a juvenile delinquent.
No, 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 I'm not a juvenile delinquent.
Oh, yes, they are. Little whippersnappers from Venezuela, mostly Venezuela, who are staying either at the Roosevelt Hotel next to Grand Central or the Watson Hotel just a block away from Central Park off 8th Avenue and 57th, which is the old Holiday Inn, which a lot of the stewards and stewardesses and pilots used to stay at. Now, forget about it. You do not want to go in the Watson Hotel. It is a disaster. Thank you, Eric Adams. You brought in these guests. We got to pay the bills, and they just run wild. So they were mugging people. It got so bad, Nancy, you reported last week that cops were actually warning people not to go into the park at night and not to go out early in the morning to walk your dog.
Yeah, and not even the usual suspects like telling a woman, don't go by yourself. This is even groups of young men.
Yeah, this is all in the southern end of Central Park. In fact, it was one of the things that Donald Trump talked about when he was running for president, how he had finally did what the city couldn't do and fixed the skating rink. Right in and around there, right before you hit the zoo. You know, hanging out and just basically you come along, your money or your life. And then you say, well, I don't speak Spanish. Then put a blade right underneath your jugular. That's a universal language. When you can't communicate and somebody takes a blade and puts it underneath your throat, you kind of understand, okay, amigo, go through my pockets, take everything, just don't hurt me. They have no idea what you're saying, but if they're able to strip you, clean, then they're walked off. They're being on video. They're waving the cameras, because they know there are no consequences. So finally, the mayor, warding off all these subpoenas now that are going to lead to him getting indicted for political corruption. So he's like in a trance. He's not focused. Finally decided to address this, and he pointed out what's obvious to everybody. When anything happens in Central Park, the whole world knows.
When something happens in Central Park, it becomes a huge international story. And so we're on top of it, and the commissioner's responding accordingly.
Yeah, you're on top of it, all right.
We never even see the commissioner. Like, he's in hiding all the time.
Yeah, where is Eddie Kaman? Is he in Qatar? He's taking a number of junkets there to Colombia.
I think he's in Colombia.
I know, Colombia. What? Medellin, Cali, Bogota. I mean, our secret service agents. So, such fine individuals. A whole bunch of them got busted in Bogota when they were traveling in the advance team for Barack Obama, who was at a conference in South America. And they were all hanging out with hookers and doing coke and drinking. And you know how it came to light?
Oh, Lord.
The one Secret Service agent stiffed the hooker. Oh. Wouldn't give her a tip. And so she goes, I can't believe that you are Americans. You got all this money. You're not even tipping me. I got 3 kids at home. He said, you're not worth a tip. So she went to the local newspaper, and guess what? We don't know what happened to those Secret Service agents. Nothing ever happens to them. It's just they were removed from the detail. Were they fired? I remember making inquiries way back then. Sorry, it's none of your BIB business. We'll deal with the Secret Service. That is a horrible agency. Just horrible. But stay focused. So we began the program by talking about Kelly Dillon, a veteran reporter of 1010 Wins, getting mugged, had enough, put it on TikTok. We played what she had to say. And isn't it ironic that Eric Adams made reference to 1010 Wins as the reason that he didn't want to tell all of us what he was going to do to return civility to the park?
There's a combination of public safety tactics that we're going to be using in that area. We don't want to give, we don't want to let the bad guy know what we're doing, because I know all news all the time. They listen to 1010 to get their tips.
Hey, Jerky Boy, you haven't even met these migrants. Trust me, I met a bunch of these youngsters yesterday on the Q train in Coney Island, about 8 of them. One of them spoke a little bit of English. He thought I was a Chavista. He thought I was Hugo Chavez because of the red beret. Hard to communicate, but these kids were wild. I was able to extract from them that they live in that New York Row Hotel. And they were enjoying Coney Island. I just wish they could have done it in a little more of a civil way. Mm. But they're wild. They're breaking wild all over the place. And you want to know what the mayor's answer to curbing the crime in Central Park that has become an international embarrassment for us, like in all other crime issues? Take a guess.
I think such a vast, large area. I think we could do a better job in using drones to police the area from the sky. And there's some new technology that we're looking at that I think is going to assist us. We'll roll it out when it's time to do so.
When exactly is the time to do so?
By the way, why not just admit we don't have enough cops? You gave $5 billion to these illegals, these migrants of whom we don't know. You didn't put $1 billion back into the budget that de Blasio took out from the cops. We need more cops. You put a cop in the park, you're not going to have crime. You put a drone flying over the park. I'd rather have Flacco if he was still alive, with a sort of like a viewing device attached to him. I mean, first of all, at night, how is the drone going to see through the trees? And what do they think? They're doing jumping jacks and waving? And even if you catch these kids, ain't nothing going to happen to them. They get cut loose. Where are their parents? Well, they're not here with parents. They came over the border by themselves. How did they get across the border on their own? And so you cut them loose, and they go back to the Roosevelt Hotel. They go back to New York Row, the old Milford Plaza, and then they go out and they do it again and again and again, and drones ain't gonna stop that, Mayor.
Check this out. No one knows New York better. The founder of the Guardian Angels, Curtis Sliwa.
And you can't compete against that.
On 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
electronic dance music, a mood elevator. We got to try to cheer Nancy up. She was drenched in that tsunami outside from the tip of her nose to the tip of her toes, including her New York Yankee hat, which looks like David Wells' hat, you know, the old Babe Ruth hat that he wore. That was your favorite Yankee player. No doubt about it.
That's true.
So now, let me give you an idea of what I typically do. I go out into the five boroughs because this city is just a hot mess with all kinds of problems. Crime being the first, migrants the second, and then a lack of housing the third. I would say in that order. So just to give you an idea, Monday, once I'm finished broadcasting here at WABC, I do the Tunnel to Tower last 5 minutes with Dominic Carter. Then I got to head out to Brooklyn. 3 things I got to do in Brooklyn, and I know what people are going to ask. I got to go to Nostrand and Avenue I, right near the junction, because they want to build a men's shelter there that'll turn into a migrant shelter, and I got to help the community there. It's Little Jerusalem. Stop that. Then I have to head into Marine Park, where they had a fire in a home that squatters have been in for 15 years while they were robbing bicycles in the neighborhood. Cops did nothing. They raided the place. They did nothing. 4 homes burned down. They're getting no response from the city, so I'm going to try to help these desperate folks, Marine Park. And then naturally, I'm down there. I go over to Floyd Bennett Field, and I check in on our guests that we're paying for in the tents. And the population there is growing. The city lies. They say, well, it's really not growing. And I said, well, why the extra tents? Why the extra fencing? So I'll give you updates on all that on Tuesday. But one thing I can guarantee you, Nancy, in every neighborhood that I go to, especially the outer boroughs, Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, people come up to me and say, I can't believe this. The city by November is telling me I got to buy a special garbage can or garbage cans, depending on the volume coming out of my house. 1 family, 2 family houses, small houses. And if I don't, I'm going to get fined. Nancy, you know, there are a lot of problems happening in the city. I just sort of ran it down. Crime, migrants, lack of affordable housing, city of yes, upzoning, density housing. We could go right on through garbage in the streets, rats. I get nowhere near as much questions and grief about this crazy idea the city has put into place through the sanitation department, that if by November you don't have these specially made garbage cans, you're going to get fined, and you must buy them not from Home Depot, not from a hardware store, not from any other outlet. You must only buy them from the city of New York. I've never heard of anything like this before, and I really have no answers for people. So I asked you to do a deep dive on this, because anytime the Adams administration has a no-bid contract of any type, immediately I smell kickback. First off, what is this garbage can, and how much are they charging the homeowners or the landlords who are responsible for the garbage cans?
Yeah, so this is November 12th, where they start implementing this regulation that every house, including, you know, from 1 to 9 residential units, they have to have this special can. And the only thing that's really special about it is it just is through this vendor of choice that they have. It's about $50. So that seems to be like the going rate, right? So they have 2 separate ones, but you're mandated to buy through this company and to use this particular can because, you know, and I guess for some reason, this is the can they came up with. So they did a 2-year study. This is McKinsey. They paid $1.6 million to study what would be the best can to use. And this is what they came up with.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So the city of New York, which wastes our money every day on migrants.
That's true.
Spent $1.6 million to study what was the best garbage can so that they won't have rats frolicking in the streets.
Yeah, it took them 2 years to figure out that you want to put a lid on top. That'll help. So that's what these cans have, lids. But you can't buy them from like to your point, like going to any of these normal stores where you normally get them from. So Home Depot, where you can get them actually cheaper. And so they have this little logo on it. But what's interesting, so now this new concern, obviously, is because this is mandated, and ultimately you will get fined, not for, like if you're using a different garbage can, you can get a fine literally for not using their garbage can. So now it's not even a question of did you put it out right, or did you put it out early, the right day, the right materials. It's like you're not using our can.
So what's the hit? What's the shakedown? What are they extorting from you? The fines?
Well, it seems to be a little. Well, the fines for not doing it. So it's like you have like a first fine of like $50, and then it gradually increases. So this can cost about $53 for purchasing this can.
And you have to buy it through the city, right?
Yeah, it's the name of, so the name of the company that they contracted out to, it's a North Carolina company, of course, right? Because nothing, they don't want to deal with anyone here who has their businesses. So it's called Otto, and they have an online site, so everyone's directed, here's where you get your can, and we'll deliver it to you. So, of course, I'm sure there's like some shipping charges too. But
what is, how do you spell that Otto thing?
OTTO.
OTTO. North Carolina company didn't even bother to have a New York company manufacture this.
Yeah, exactly. Very interesting. So, so now the concern is, well, of course, they're saying, well, if these are going to be mandated, we're going to be fined. Well, what if people start stealing these cans, right? Because now, there's actually a need to have these ones. So.
Oh, hell yeah, they're going to be stealing these cans. What kind of a schmuck would not know that if you mandate that only one can be used, you have to get it through the provider, through the city. You can't go to a Home Depot or anywhere else to get it.
And this is the Sanitation Department Press Secretary, Vincent Gragnani. I think you got to hear what he says. So he says virtually every other major city uses bins, and there is not some kind of perpetual epidemic of bin theft that we're aware of. Well, first of all, come to New York City. So that's that's number one. But
Wait. I want you to read what this idiot, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been around 70 years, I've worked with the sanitation department. I've been given awards by the sanitation department for cleaning up the Bronx from 1976 to 1979 when I led a group called the Rock Brigade. And I know all about the cans. So what is he saying? Let me get this straight from this Schmendrick, this Pisher, this Norderwell.
Well, he says virtually every other major city uses bins, and there is not some kind of perpetual epidemic of bin theft that we are aware of.
First off, you have the wire mesh cans that are on the corners, right? The old traditional garbage can that they put out there for waste of people walking by to take. You know how many of those get stolen? You know how many of those end up in people's backyards and in barbecues, and they get stolen all the time? What is this idiot talking about?
Well, but he does have a suggestion, though, FYI, in case people are concerned about having to babysit these cans of theirs. So, number one, they have a little place on the can where you can write your address in. That's the first part.
Wait a second. People steal bicycles and then they paint it. People steal cars and then they change the VIN numbers. This guy says, okay, you purchased this from us for probably a total, when you consider taxes and everything, $60. And they're going to, you write your address on it, and you don't think somebody's going to be able to take that off and put a different address on it?
Yeah, like if lost, please return to, like that kind of thing.
I mean, this is really ridiculous.
Well, and here's the other one, FYI, just so you know, in case that doesn't make you feel good, he does make you aware. Residents can file a report with the NYPD in the event of bin stolen.
There are 90,000 packages stolen every day. The mayor has said this himself. By the way, see if you can find that, please, Matt Blaze. 90,000 packages, he's admitted, that are being delivered by package delivering services, FedEx, UPS, USPS, other delivery services, DHS. Imagine 90,000 packages a day in the 5 boroughs of the city of New York are stolen. Nobody ever gets arrested for that. Nobody, because the crime stats would go through the roof. And this guy says, Can he guarantee it that none of these cans are going to be stolen and sold to other people?
Okay, and here's the creepiest thing of all. So apparently the New York City bins, that's what they call them, they have a radio frequency identification serial number, okay, which uses electromagnetic fields to automatically identify and track tags attached to the objects. Like, why in the world do you put that on a garbage can?
So what is it? It's like a chip. It's like
Exactly, like
chipping your pet, your cat, your dog.
But apparently that chip information doesn't extend to the actual person who buys it, because you just have to call the police and make a report and they'll get back to you. So someone else has the chip information that they found so very necessary, but just not you. You don't need it.
Cops ain't going to do nothing about it.
Isn't that your chip number to know where
First of all, if you do catch somebody with a stolen bin, you will now have to put it on the books of the precinct, and that will mean you have an increase in crime. God forbid we actually report what's actually going on. Again, ladies and gentlemen, every day, and the mayor has said this publicly, there are 90,000 packages stolen in the city of New York as they're being delivered into your foyer. They're being delivered outside. They call them porch pirates. It's an epidemic in the suburbs also. It isn't just a problem for New York City, but it's most egregious here. 90,000 packages. Nobody gets arrested for that. So if all of a sudden your new garbage can that you have to get from the city of New York that has this chip, that has your address written on it, you don't think that's going to get stolen? Ain't nobody going to get arrested for stealing those. Ain't nobody.
Yeah, and then what happens in the interim once it gets stolen? Now you have to order a new one. They could put you on like a special list. You're in waiting. Like it seems way too complicated.
It is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And this is, believe it or not, I'm not expecting this to be the number one complaint of people in neighborhoods.
Yeah, I mean, and it still misses the entire human element, which is if people don't want to put garbage in garbage cans, they're not going to do it. And apparently there's a lot of people in New York City who don't want to do that.
Now, to give you an example, we have a sanitation commissioner who has never picked up trash in her life. She was birthed into, she grew up on third base. She was birthed onto third base. Her name is Tish. She's part
of... What happens
on
third base?
Right. Well, you're born on third base, which means all you got to do is walk home. You don't have to do the whole route. That means you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, big enough to offset the trade balance between Red China and the United States. So she's a Park Avenue gal. Always had Jeeves driving her around in a stretch limo. You know, past the great pool pond. Oh, Jeeves, there's a scrap of paper on the ground. Could you pick that up, Jeeves? Her whole focus is not picking up trash, because the city has trash everywhere. That's why we have the rats, we have the rodents, we have the mice. Her whole thing is composting. This is the woman's whole focus. These little brown cans that they'll give you to put your scraps in for compost.
Yeah, which crashed and burned very quickly because that program's over.
Nah, it's just, there's no understanding. If you live in a neighborhood, you want the garbage picked up. They removed all the overtime, so the sanitation workers don't have overtime to pick up all the excess garbage, especially in the summertime. I mean, I was in Coney Island last night. My God, there's garbage everywhere. We'll get to that momentarily. So let me get this straight, Nancy. You must buy this can. Mm-hmm. What do they call it again? It's really a can.
Yeah, it's just a trash bin, and the only thing it has a lid on it, and actually here's the other goofy part of it. It has a handle to it for trucks that have yet to be made.
Oh, so we got to pay for those.
Yeah, so in anticipation of these trucks that we don't have yet and we haven't purchased yet, that someday this can's going to work for it.
What do we do with all the old trucks that we have? We just scrap them to the scrap heap?
Well, yes, we're waiting for the budget to be approved on those.
Can you find out, also do the deep dive, these new European-style trucks, much smaller than the normal trucks that go down your streets to pick up your garbage. Could you find out who is the manufacturer, what is the relationship with the Adams administration, and whether they are no-bid contracts? Because this is a no-bid contract.
Yeah, this is correct.
They have not put it out to different vendors in order to save money. In fact, they spent $1.6 million of our dollars to research What would be the best can?
Yeah, and that's kind of their philosophy, apparently.
This is like the dumbest thing that I've ever heard, unless you realize it's used to generate money.
There you go.
And now where does the money go? You scratch my belly, I scratch yours.
The friends of Eric Adams.
Of course. And if you have a recycling can, the blue can, which you use to fill up your recyclables so that when they come along for the recycling route, the city gives you that can.
Yeah.
Pretty sure the city gives you that can.
Yeah, I think so.
And even those get stolen. But this concept of the spokesperson from the sanitation department goes, I don't think any cans will be stolen in New York.
He never heard of such things.
It was so bad in 1975 that they had the concrete coffins, these cylinder-style concrete coffins that they had to put over the wire mesh can because they were stealing the wire mesh can. And they had them everywhere until people were turning them into hibachi grills. People were defecating into them, homeless people. Fires were started in them. They had to remove them all. And they put them all on the West Side Highway near that Con Edison location, which was right off of West 14th Street, off the West Side Highway. They called it the concrete coffins.
Oh, that's funny.
And this guy says the garbage cans don't get stolen in the city.
Well,
of New
he
York.
said he's not aware of it. He's not saying it doesn't exist. It's just it's never been brought to his attention.
Is he even from New York City? Did he grow up in New York City? Did he go to Dartmouth or maybe some Ivy League institution?
That's a great question.
Can we reach out to this idiot, this Schmendrick, this Pisher, and let him know that garbage cans have always been stolen in the city of New York? The mesh cans disappear at a dramatic rate. Those are the cans that are generally put on the corners. You're not supposed to put your personal garbage in it, but people do.
All the time.
You're not supposed to put commercial waste in it, but people do.
All the time.
You're basically just supposed to put it for the garbage that people would generally just toss into the gutter or the street, and they get stolen at a horrific rate. I've seen them all over the city in places where they shouldn't be, in people's backyards. There's no follow-up. There are no arrests made. What a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as they try to find the cut here, that is, they're knocking themselves out. Mm-hmm. The mayor has gone on record and said there are 90,000 packages stolen each and every day, something I brought to everybody's attention about a year ago, and no arrests are made. You can imagine what that would do to the local precinct reports of crime. It would skyrocket.
Correct.
Because you're stealing, and then depending on what is in the box, there's a variance in terms of what you charge, misdemeanors, felonies, the whole 9 yards. What a hot mess. And the biggest issue that has been brought to my attention is people, landlords, homeowners, single-family homes, two-family homes. This goes up to people who own buildings with 9 apartments, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
You must have these cans by what date or you get fined?
So November 22nd this year.
Nobody has gone to court to try to stop this. Nobody, because people figure you can't fight City Hall and win. People out there, this is ridiculous.
You think someone's going to start selling like knockoff cans?
Yes. You know that's going to happen.
Like it looks like Mr. Softy Truck.
Right. This is the knockoff capital. Go down to Canal Street.
Oh, my gosh.
Go to Little Nairobi, Broadway between 26th and 29th. They sell every knockoff in the world.
Yeah, they're going to start sending letters to your home like, I can see you haven't ordered your can yet. You might want to get on that.
This is what this city has become.
Maybe they start taking out of your tax return. Like,
Yeah. Well, let me suggest there are a lot of civic groups out there. They're not political, but they do good work in trying to do what's best for the community. Sue this city. Sue the sanitation department. Sue Tish, who knows nothing about sanitation. She's there for only one reason. She's the daughter of 2 very wealthy parents, one of whom is co-owner of the New York Giants. Remember, they own the Tish theater chain. And they've contributed mightily to Eric Adams, especially when he thought he'd be running for president when he first got elected.
Oh, that was cute, yeah.
Yeah, that's gone down the drain. Please. Simple things like this is what, believe it or not, might be the straw that breaks the camel's back that causes you to leave. the city of New York because you're saying I've had it. I can't even go to a store and buy my own garbage can. I have to buy it from the city. I've never heard of anything like this.
No, this is absurd.
What do you buy from the city? You talk about socialism. This is socialism. It's sort of like that's what capitalism is about. If you got to buy a particular product, you go to retail outlets, you go to wholesale outlets, you get the best possible price. That's what competition is about. You don't buy it from the city.
Yeah, I mean, and it just shows how bad they are at bargaining, too, because, I mean, to buy so many of them, they should have gotten a great discount rate.
Well, up next, got to take you to Coney Island. Oh, my God, it's going to break your heart, ladies and gentlemen, what I tell you. To be honest with me, as jaded and skeptical as I am at 70 years old, I did not anticipate this. You may have remembered that vicious assault and rape by the illegal aliens, the Nicaraguan, aided and abetted by the Mexican illegal alien under the boardwalk just a week ago. Nothing's been done. Nothing. Why? Because the victims were homeless. Really, that's the bottom line. They are homeless. They're American homeless people. And nothing gets done for them. Now, if it was migrant or migrant crime, you watch. The city would have been upside down all around. And then I'm going to tell you where the mayor was, and you're going to realize this guy has lost all of his basic mental faculties to make good decisions. He is so concerned about these pending subpoenas where now he's going to have to go in and give testimony in a grand jury, the U.S. Southern District, which he cannot do because he'll implicate himself and he'll implicate his cronies, that he can't even figure out what parade he's in, what ethnic parade. This makes him the Biden of Brooklyn. And another event he went to in which he got booed by everybody there, and yet he went in like a masochist, oblivious to it. No, you don't want to go anywhere. And, also, animal welfare starting at 10 o'clock, starting at midnight tonight. It's International Dog Day. And I actually took a picture with Oliver, who is a dog. He's part of a family of some guy who said, Curtis, you got to take a picture with Oliver. It'll make my day. And I kissed Oliver. Well, I'm a politician, right? I shake hands and kiss babies. I kiss dogs. I kiss cats. If it means that you'll vote for me, I'll kiss the dog. I know you got jealous, Nancy, but hey, the guy he said he voted for me the last time. Hey, this is a lock. We know that Eric Adams is not a pet-friendly person like Trump. So I got the pet vote. Hey, look, if it requires smooching with a dog, I realize I know where they have their nose. I know what they do, but hey, I can handle it. I fought coronavirus and COVID-19, and I won. And I could fight off any sort of bacteria that dogs may have.
Yeah, that's why he sleeps in the bathtub, folks.
Well, that's true. And then she says, who have you been kissing of late? And I come home and I tell, well, the dog. I'll show you the picture of the dog. And she gets grossed out. Right here on your place to be, WABC.
WABC.
New York's talk station with the king of New York. Curtis Sliwa, 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
Electronic dance music, although Matt Blaze, I know you love the music of Nancy and my favorite form of music. Maybe we should have had a little Taylor Swift singing her ode to Coney Island baby. By the way, Taylor Swift has yet to make an endorsement this time around for president. Last time around, she endorsed Biden-Harris. But apparently some of the Swifties have jumped the ship, Nancy. and they have set up a website, Swifties for Trump and Vance, sort of preemptively, and apparently they got a lot of Swifties involved. We'll see. Noam Laden, I think, returns tomorrow. He was touring the Rust Belt on behalf of Harris and the Scarecrow from Minnesota, Coach, and he was wearing a T-shirt that said Swifties for Kamala. I can't believe that. What is wrong with Noam? Meantime, his other news guy there, James Flippin, who now calls himself James Christopher Flippin, because he wants to be just like Vance, J.D. Vance. He wants 3 names, and I never trust anybody with 3 names. He's wearing a T-shirt that says Hillbillies for Vance. So there's competition in the newsroom. But there is, check it out, ladies and gentlemen, Swifties for Trump. Preemptively knowing that Taylor Swift, I guess between Donald Trump and Taylor Swift, they are the most famous people in the world now, infamous to some, famous to others. They're like 1 and 2. And Harris and Coach think that is the pathway to victory once Taylor Swift endorses them, as she did Biden and Harris. But she does have a song about Coney Island. Almost everybody has a song about Coney Island. But I got to tell you, what I'm going to expose you to about Coney Island that many of you have grown up in, visited on a regular basis, is just going to make you cry. You remember last week, Nancy, you broke down the legalities of this Nicaraguan who is an illegal alien staying at the La Quinta Motel in 3rd Avenue in Sunset Park in the shadow of the BQE. At our expense, $180 a night. He had raped a female there and sodomized her. Got arrested. And then they pleaded down. Eric, what am I forgetting his name? The Brooklyn
Gonzalez?
DA. Yeah, Eric Gonzalez. I hate him so much. The guy doesn't get the same attention as Alvin Bragg, but let me tell you something. He's done the same kind of things, cut criminals loose. He did a plea. You explained to us what it was about. The guy copped a plea to assault, did a year in jail, and he was out.
Yeah, and during the time that he was actually waiting for the trial, he was in Rikers, and he got this plea deal after he had even assaulted a Rikers guard. So, I don't understand how that happened either.
Well, he's an illegal alien. They get everything. So he's out in the streets, and there is a place. You go to West 16th Street off Surf, and you go down this alleyway, and you can go right underneath the boardwalk. Now, what they've done is they've opened up a fence. They have put fencing under there ever since Superstorm Sandy. They filled it in with sand because that's where the water came ashore and then ended up coming into the streets and destroying a lot of property, including a lot of the public housing. So they did all that. But there's still enough room in there that you could actually live. And when you go under the boardwalk where the fence has not been repaired, this is a week now, you can actually go on my Instagram, you can go on my Twitter, you can go on my Facebook, you can go on my TikTok, and you can see me. I am inside, having squeezed my way in through the open fence, and I'm showing you all the debris there. You got needles, you got condoms, and they're drinking that White Claw. What the heck? Not even Modelo, not even Bud Light, none of that. What is that? White Claw? What's that stuff that they drink?
I don't know what they drink, but if I've heard of White Claw, I'm aware of its existence.
What is that exactly?
It's seltzer kind of beer.
I've never known homeless people to drink that, but I guess they're getting it somewhere, probably shoplifting it somewhere, and they're living underneath the boardwalk.
Yeah.
They're in desperate times. They have serious emotional issues. They're women and men. They need help. Mm-hmm. And all we're helping are the migrants. We're not even helping our own homeless. So I'm down there with the guardian angels. We're taking care of them. We're patrolling the area. And we're making sure that nobody comes in and harms them, because this guy had raped and assaulted this woman. Guess what? No cops from the 60th precinct. No police. No drones, no nothing. And it's right next to the New York Mets minor league team there. It's right next to it. Your right center field is right to your right. There are rides to your left. It's not a desolate, isolated area where there's not a lot of traffic. There's a lot of traffic. There's traffic on top of the boardwalk. There's traffic on the sides. There were 2 illegal aliens there last night when we arrived, not inside, but outside. And they were hoping to go inside, I'm sure, just to sleep. Well, we chased them away. We said, no, you ain't going in there. We're going to have to, on our own, we the Guardian Angels are going to have to seal that up. The Parks Department won't do it. The police are not patrolling it. There's no drones. Now, what's the difference? The difference is these are homeless people. They have problems. We're not taking care of our own. We're not taking care of our own. There's no other way to describe this situation. And Nancy, on behalf of all of our listeners, I want you to track what's going to be happening to these 2 guys. You have the Nicaraguan, who is supposed to be in court. I just don't trust the DA in Brooklyn to prosecute this guy to the full extent of the law. What the hell is the guy's name again, the DA? I've sort of drawn a blank on him.
Gonzalez, right?
Yeah, Eric Gonzalez. Oh, I hate this guy. He cuts so many people loose. He needs to be named and shamed, which is something that Eric Adams will not do with Alvin Bragg or Darcel Clark, the Bronx DA. Needs to be named and shamed. Let's track this, because I have a feeling that this Nicaraguan assaulter and rapist is going to slip through the cracks, along with the Mexican illegal who aided and abetted him by hitting the boyfriend when he returned with a cup of coffee. The boyfriend was not able to stop the attack. Would you be kind enough on behalf of our listeners? And by the way, can you track illegal aliens in the court system, or do they have sort of like a protected status?
Well, I actually was able to see the first bunch of things. So hopefully, I didn't see the previous case, but I can see what's currently going on. So they are trackable.
They can be tracked.
They can be tracked.
And so with all the different charges that have been filed against him in the previous charge and then with this charge, please make sure this guy doesn't slip through the cracks, because I know a lot of people are saying, well, the governor is saying deport them. Once they're caught, deport them. Well, let me explain to you what transpires, and people don't seem to want to listen. There are 4 countries that you cannot deport people to because they don't have a reciprocal arrangement with us. One is Venezuela with Maduro. He will not take them back. Daniel Ortega in Nicaragua will not take them back. Cuba will not take them back. And Haiti won't take them back because they really don't have an operational government. There's anarchy there. Who are you going to negotiate with? The guy named Barbecue who leads the biggest gang in Haiti and runs the show?
Oh, he's still in charge?
Oh, yeah, he's still in charge. I mean, it's crazy. So those 4 countries. So let's say you catch those illegals committing a crime, you prosecute them to the full extent of the law, which is something our DAs are not doing. And they actually end up doing time. Surprise, surprise. Now, under normal circumstances, when they're released from prison, let's say upstate or jail here in the city, Rikers, they need to be turned over to ICE. Our state won't do that. Our city won't do that because under Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo, he would not permit any of these agencies to work with ICE. So basically, they get cut loose, they're footloose and fancy free. But even if we resume, let's assume sanity prevails and we immediately resume working with ICE, where are you going to deport them? Venezuela won't take them. Nicaragua won't take it. Haiti won't take them. And Cuba won't take them. They're going to be here in perpetuity. People need to understand this. Don't let the governor, hokum, which means nonsense, she's full of nonsense, say, oh, we'll just deport them. You can only deport people to countries that have a reciprocal agreement with you to accept people that you want to deport to their country, and there are people there that they want to deport to your country. We don't have those agreements. So that's number 1. Number 2, because these are illegal aliens, I'd be very interested to see legally who is representing them, because I know we're paying for it. But I'd be very interested to see how much this is costing us, because I have a feeling that they're getting premium defense because of who they are. as opposed to just the run-of-the-mill B attorneys who walk the hallways of courts looking for work, or, let's say, rookies in legal aid. Please stay on top of this. Please. This is un disgraziata. This is a shanda. Again, all you have to do, if you want to view it for yourself, go to 16th off Surf Avenue, West 16th. You keep walking towards the rear. You'll see there's a pathway right in. There's a fence. You make a left. You'll see the fence is open. I know that people are listening at City Hall. They're listening at the 60th Precinct. They're listening at the Parks Department because I had said I was going to talk about it. How about doing your damn job, seal it up, prevent people from sleeping under the boardwalk, prevent the drug dealing, the drug use, the prostitution, prevent the migrants from going in there and committing crime against our homeless people. Seal the damn thing up. A week later, nothing has been done. So in the interim, so you know, we guardian angels will take care of it, as we have in the past, although this is sad because they have the resources, they have the personnel to deal with it, and it is the summer season on the beach, so there are plenty of cops in other places. For some reason, they stubbornly will not take care of this. It drives me nuts walking in there and see that nothing has been done in a week, and you know it's going to happen again. You know it. I saw 2 illegals ready to go in there. Now, doesn't mean they were going to do anything wrong, but you never know. So why not make everybody safe? Because, hey, look, there are illegals who get attacked also. There are illegals who get raped. There are illegals who get violated. Do you know how many times in these hotels that we put them up in? The number one reason that a 911 call is made, and that's the only time a police officer from the NYPD, uniformed or in plain clothes, can go into a migrant shelter, the 238 of them that there are now, is if they're called in. There's got to be a 911 call. They can't go in on their own. They can't even go in and use a bathroom. The number one reason that brings them in is domestic abuse. Guys are coming from these third world countries where you can slap around a woman and get away with it. They maybe even give you what they call masculine toxicity, pat on the back for that. And they beat up their kids. I had to stop one guy. He had a Boston baseball cap on. He was from Peru. He had his baby in the carriage. He was talking to his wife there, or his girlfriend, I don't know. And the baby was like, you know, crying, hollering on the train, the Q train. And he went to like push the kid. And I looked at him like, even though he probably didn't speak English, my look was, don't even go there. He looked up at me, and it was sort of like he realized, back off. But, you know, at some point I had to get off the train. But some of these guys think they can abuse their children or other children that are not there, or women. And in their country, they get away with it. You can't do that here. And cops will tell you, we're going in there constantly and making arrests for domestic abuse. And guess what? The moment they get written up, they get a desk appearance ticket, a disappearance ticket, and then they're released. And guess where they're going back? They're going back to the Roosevelt Hotel, the New York Row Hotel, the Watson Hotel. And they're going right into that apartment. What do you think they're going to do then? We're the ones who are promoting this. It should make you, the taxpayers, angry that we're paying $5 billion for this, and it's expected that we're going to pay $10 billion next year, and it's endless. But I'm going to see what I can do to stop it. Up next, I promised to let you know where the mayor was where he got booed. This is going to blow your mind. And also, he is in such a state of mind now that he is so concerned about getting indicted, because he is going to get indicted. He's now been subpoenaed to come before a grand jury, and that never works out well. He doesn't even know which parade he's at. When you hear this, you're going to say, oh, man, he is lost. And as a result of being lost, this city continues to fall into the abyss. Eric Adams has become Bill de Blasio 2.0. And guess what, people? You voted for them. You voted for de Blasio twice. You voted for Eric Adams once. Maybe some of you will vote for him a second time if he doesn't end up in jail. Well, now you must suffer. Now you must suffer.
WABC.
Check this out. No one knows New York better. The founder of the Guardian Angels, Curtis Sliwa.
And you can't compete against that.
On 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
Well, Nancy, drenched from the tip of her nose to the tip of her toes. You're not alone, Nancy. When you went out because you're addicted to coffee, had to get a cup of coffee, you got pounded by rain. That same rain throughout the tri-state area that came down in, sheets. Brought delayed trains, canceled planes, and a whole lot of pain for travelers. At the same time you were going out, the ferocious thunderstorm that hit the tri-state area flooded roadways and caused long lines at airports as 3 to 5 inches of rain were dumped across the region. Drivers on major highways in parts of Manhattan, the Bronx, and Queens dealt with standing water that closed down lanes of traffic, and some of the drivers were stranded in their vehicles. The 86th Street Traverse in Central Park was impassable due to floodwaters under the bridge, and it goes on and on and on. And see, now you can claim that you were one of the victims of that tsunami.
I was a victim.
All because you had to have your cup of caffeinated coffee.
I blame the cocoa bean.
You're addicted to coffee, like so many Americans. But let's talk about Eric Adams. And again, I've known this guy over 40 years. He's not a dullard. He's not a dummy. I've dealt with politicians who cannot chew gum and think at the same time. He's not one of them. And one thing he's very astute about is ethnic groups. As you know, I've described a pattern of behavior he has I've never seen in any other mayor. Almost every day he goes down to Bowling Green and he raises a flag of some foreign nation. I've never seen him raise flags of the United States. Never. And on Friday, he raised the flag of Pakistan. And I said, why would you be raising the flag of Pakistan? They gave sanctuary, they gave protection to Osama bin Laden, responsible for the attack of 9/11, the World Trade Center, which is just 2 blocks away. And I'm sure he got an envelope full of Pakistani rupees. You know, people from Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi. Then on Saturday, he raised the flag of India. And there were people down there once again at Bowling Green. And there was a parade on Hillside Avenue right next to Creedmoor, because there are a lot of East Indians who have homes there now. It's a huge area for Indians. They have an ashram out there. And he was at this same parade last year, festooned in Indian flags, as he was yesterday. And this is what he said last year about how he wanted to be just like Gandhi.
So I'm Gandhi-like. I think like Gandhi. I act like Gandhi. I want to be like Gandhi.
And as I said then, you know, you champion yourself as a supporter of the state of Israel. You need to know, Eric, because a lot of things he just doesn't want to know, that Mahatma Gandhi was not a supporter of the state of Israel at all. In fact, he decried it at the very same time that India was winning its independence from Great Britain, and there was the big divide as Muslims fled to what became Pakistan and Hindus to India, where 80% of the country is Hindu now, 20% is Muslim. So he showed up at that same parade yesterday on Hillside Avenue in Crete, right next to Creedmoor, festooned with Indian flags, and at the end of the parade, he gave a speech. And the speech was very clear. He said, I want to thank all the Pakistani men and women that I've worked with in the police department over the years. We've had a great relationship. So people in the crowd were saying, it's India. It's India, not Pakistan. But he was like all caught up in his thoughts. Then he said, and I want to thank all of those constituents when I was Brooklyn Borough President on Coney Island Avenue. It's called Little Karachi, Little Pakistan. It always treated me so well. And again, the crowd is saying, Mr. Mayor, it's India. It's India. And then he said, one day I hope to visit. I'd love to be able to visit Lahore, where many of the constituents of our city originate from. And finally, there were like 5 Indians who were right near the stage who kept saying, it's India, India, India. Can you imagine? It's like he has said he is the Biden of Brooklyn, right? That's something Biden would do, right, Joe Biden? You see what's happened is he is so concerned about these subpoenas. And again, the reason they're important, they were served to him in July, is it requires that he give testimony to a grand jury. He can't do that. He'll implicate himself. He'll implicate his cronies. And if he takes the Fifth Amendment like Mario Biaggi back in 1973, it'll sink his boat because it will leak out. But with all this craziness going on, where do you think Eric Adams decided to go where he got booed by everyone there? He walked in with his entourage into the room where there was a press conference with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul promoting their upcoming fight. With all the craziness going on in the city, he walks in. They're all booing. Everybody is booing as he walks into the room. He's got this white shirt on with, mayor on the back. Like, well, you didn't know he was mayor, right? Guy has some problems there. And all these people are booing him. And Mike Tyson, his friend, is trying to calm down the crowd because you got to understand, Eric Adams, when he was an active police officer, provided security for Mike Tyson. That is against the rules of the NYPD. He should have been stripped of his rank and some suggest fired because Mike Tyson, remember, was a convicted felon for rape in Indianapolis. Meantime, a guy that is often mentioned here at WABC, Sal Greco, friend of Roger Stone, he was removed from the police department because they claimed he was associating with Stone, who in 2019 was charged with obstructing a congressional investigation and found guilty. Boy, is this a double standard. So you got to ask yourself, Nancy, what the hell would Mayor Eric Adams be doing walking in on a press conference between his friend Mike Tyson and Jake Paul for an upcoming fight? It's a stage fight. It's not going to be a real fight. And he must be a masochist now. People were booing him, and he was oblivious to it. With all the there's flooding going on in the city. Mr. Mayor, 911, flooding in the city, and you're hanging out with Mike Tyson. What, were you sharing a blunt? Because, Tyson sells blunts now where it's legal. Oh, man. This guy is going. And it's all because of these subpoenas. He's probably saying to himself, I'm the greatest of all time. I really am. I want to be just like Mike Tyson.